Hello, Dee.
Hey, friend, how are you?
I am wonderful, and thank you all for tuning in to the Other Woman Magazine Facebook Live, our first series on peeling back the layers. We're going to peel back some layers tonight. We are going to share, for those of you who are not familiar with the Other Woman Magazine, I'm going to share how the Other Woman came to be. Dee, a good second born, the chunky chip man, the baker's man, his reading teacher in the 7th grade. And we have stayed connected since then. That's been a few years now. And Dee, you have been more than an inspiration to me. You know, they say always make sure that your circle is at a higher, I guess the word level, or at a higher dimension or whatever. Every time I talk to you, you teach me something. I'm enlightened. And those are the type of women that I appreciate because they pour into my life. You know, if you're always pouring into someone else's life, you need some pouring into also.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Well, the feeling is mutual. I respect you a lot too. Value your opinion, your observations also.
And who would know years ago when Jalen was in your Belleville School reading class that we would be doing a Facebook Live talking about the other woman.
See, you're right. We could not imagine that, begin to imagine that. And I was thinking about this evening, and one of the things I heard is that a lot of times we think too small, you know. And initially, I saw you as a parent of one of my students. Then I got to know you, and you were like so much more than that. So parent is really good, but there were so many more layers to you than parent. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Who a person is just by an initial meeting. You have a role that's attached to you. You were an editor. You knew me as a mother of one of your students.
Right.
Educator. Who is behind that mother role? And it was just so happened that time allowed us to get to know a little bit more about each other. And that is pretty much how I found the other woman. I didn't know who she was. I didn't even know another woman existed.
Mm-hmm.
It, um, some hardships, some heartaches, some pain, some challenges, some triumphs, some introspection. It took a lot of things. It took a
Absolutely.
lot of things to find the other woman. And I believe that we all have the woman inside of us. It may be, she may come through in different ways, different experiences, but we all have another woman within us. And let me share the mission of the Other Woman magazine. And this is not something that I've always wanted to have my own magazine, but I never thought it was going to be this. Other magazines, I don't want to call their name magazines. We all know what they are, who they are. They didn't speak to my spirit. They didn't speak to my soul. I've always felt like I was missing something. I wanted to know more about who I was and how I could fulfill life instead of a celebrity. It's like I didn't understand why I kept reading about celebrities. And then I found myself comparing myself to these celebrities. And it's like, what is going on here? So lo and behold, and again, you all, this is my journey. This is how I found the other woman. You may find the other woman in a totally different way. So please, as I share my story, as Dee shares her story, we're not telling you to drop anything, to leave anything or anybody to do anything different. We're simply sharing our story. And that's what the other woman does. It's just a many stories from women and men compiled of us telling our truth, of being real, of being transparent. So the mission of the Other Woman magazine, it is my mission to help you discover the silenced and often suppressed woman resting within and infuse a desire to live courageously without reservation or regrets. I thought this was going to be easy.
What was going to be easy?
Sharing tonight. It's always easy for me to share the Other Woman magazine, but I guess tonight, I don't know what it is, peeling back the layers. It's okay if I do it in print. You can't see my face.
Yes, yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
I can write my behind off and share myself. Some things I don't share, some I do share, but I felt like it was necessary for this magazine to be published because I knew I wasn't alone in feeling suppressed and silenced behind my roles as a wife, as a mother. I lost the woman in me. I was a woman before I was a wife. I was a woman before I was a mother. And I can't even explain. It wasn't courage. Um, I was a Christian church going woman, homeschooling my two boys, doing my best to be a loving, supportive wife to whom I now call my husband, not my ex-husband, like the uncola,
Uh-huh.
my unhusband, just being there for him and raising my two sons who taught me and showed me a love I didn't know existed. When that began to, when our vows began to, what's the word, fizzle away, or uh, it just didn't feel real to me anymore. I felt like I was just going through the motions.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't because of adultery. Everybody thinks just because you get divorced, it's always adultery. If it was adultery, I would have left a long time ago. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It was to save my life physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually is what awakened me, the spiritual part. Whatever clicked in my head and you're not happy and you deserve to be happy and live a fulfilling life, not just a busy. I was
Mm-hmm.
busy, but I
Mm-hmm.
remember one woman telling me, you really, when she found out that I left my 20-year marriage, she says, well, you wore that mask well. I didn't think I was wearing a mask. I was doing what Christian and mothers do. You in when the word got out, when we separated, people were saying, uh, that movie, The Prayer Warrior, I think that was the name of it, was out
Mm-hmm.
about the woman who was praying, whatever. I never saw the movie, but
Mm-hmm.
they were saying, they were sending me clips of that movie. And I was, excuse me, I was a prayer warrior through my whole 20 years. I was putting the cross over the threshold, doorpost of my home. I would lean over and hold my husband and pray for him. I would get up at 2 o'clock in the morning, praying for my family. And you're telling me to pray? You know what? I'm not saying that prayer doesn't work, but a lot of times we try to make something work that isn't supposed to be. So I had to accept that. It's like, why am I continually putting effort into something that I feel like I'm doing by myself? So I had to realize, what is it, Nina Simone? I quoted her in the debut issue. And you all, I
Mm-hmm.
share a piece of myself in each issue of the Other Woman magazine. When love is no longer served at the table, it's time to get up. I'm probably misquoting her, but love was
Mm-hmm.
no longer served. Not only did I not love, but I didn't love myself, to realize that I didn't owe anybody anything, not my unhusband, not my children. I had to feed myself. I wanted to be happy. And Dee, I'm sure you're well aware of this. Back in our grandmothers and great grandmothers' days, they stayed in that marriage regardless of what was going
Mm-hmm.
on. I just couldn't do it more. It was for me. I had to be happy, and it was the best decision that I made, because it was then that I found the other woman. It was then that I realized I had all this in me, and I just didn't feel free to be. I felt like I was in a box. Your role is a mother. You are a
Mm-hmm.
wife. That is what you do, period. So my first book back in 2009, I think, We Snap in Silence, the other woman was nudging me back then. She was nudging me back then, but I did not have the spiritual awakening that I have now to realize that something in me was telling me to move. It was telling me this is not right. But we will stay with jobs, with friends, um, in places that we're not happy, living, cities, states, whatever, but we're afraid to move. But fear can keep you from your life. So I knew within my roles as a mother, I could not be alone. And again, this is my story. This is how I found the other woman. I'm not telling you to walk away from anything. This was my journey. Everybody will have their own journey. We're going to get back to my story, but Dee, you recently did something. I need to regroup, so I'm going to put it on you for a minute. Share your history, okay? Teaching, you've been a teacher and educator for how long?
I think I've been an educator almost my whole life. I always loved sharing information. And it was when I was in the Navy, I was sharing some knowledge, and this coworker said, you ought to be a teacher. And no one ever suggested I be a teacher. I didn't even think about that until after I retired. But, we had these roles, society laid out what we're supposed to do, what's expected of us. And when I was coming to be with my mother, I was supposed to marry well. Well, actually, she would say, get your education because the end ain't, you know what I'm saying? So the challenge was to find a good man, but mostly get your education. He should take care of you, but he's not. So that was the message I got. And then when I was married, and I knew on my way down the aisle that we were end in divorce. I knew that. It wasn't gonna last. And so my initial thought was, well, I just need to choose better next time. And I was at work, and a doctor had this book called The Cinderella Complex in his bookcase. And what that was about was that how these women, seemingly educated, intelligent women, still have this idea that Prince Charming is going to come along and save them. And actually, as an adult, I'm supposed to provide for myself. Whatever it is I want, I need to be able to provide for myself. It was like someone threw cold water on me, like woke me up from this daydream. And that's when I began the process of, okay, I need to be my own hero, And then, so I was a mother, also single mother. Then when my daughter became a teenager and it was apparent that she no longer needed a mommy, what am I? If I was retired from the Navy, I'm not a mommy. And that's when I said I have to re-image myself. And that's when I went to school to become a teacher. And everything is always unfolding. And understanding that every good thing, that little voice inside your head, I believe that comes from God, your higher power. And if you follow it, even though it may conflict with what other people expect you to do, if you follow it, it will lead you to your good. And that's always, yes. And that depression, that anxiety, the resentment, all that comes from you denying yourself. And somehow, as women, we get the idea, I'm supposed to support my husband, support my kids. And then, maybe you bake a cake and you scrape the edges of the bowl, and a little batter on there, but what's left might be for me. And that's not good. Didn't work. It did not suit me. So that brings me to where I am today after teaching for, how can I say this? About almost 15 years, I'm leaving the classroom. One of the things I felt very strongly about is that education should not be something that is inflicted upon children. But that's how many of them experience school. And that we're given this idea, okay, you need to go to school, get an education so you can get a good job. But I'm alive now. And my belief is that education should equip children to make changes, to empower them to in their life here and now. And that's one of the things when I met Jalen, he was first of all, his first year in public school. I knew he had been homeschooled. That was a tremendous burden on me. I thought, oh my God, I could break this lady's baby. But to have them learn that they can impact their own world. And everything I did was about them being able to use words to change their immediate environment. To me, that's empowering. And that's critically important to me. And I'm not feeling that I'm doing that. And this year, so I need to lead the classroom because everything in me, that term called soul killing, my soul is just dying. To think that these kids, they don't want to be there. They don't want what I'm giving them. I gotta go.
Did you feel an obligation to stay? Like, it's very hard to explain that feeling, that nudging, that call a hunch that you need to do something, but whatever that fear won't let you change direction. It won't let you change the course of your life. You feel like, as you mentioned, society makes you feel like you're supposed to be a certain way or do a certain thing. And the church is responsible for that also, making you feel like you have to stay. You know, that God doesn't change his mind. You know, if God put you in the marriage, if God gave you a job, God doesn't change his mind. But nobody can speak to you, your spirit, the way the Spirit of God speaks to you. You know, if you feel you're led to do something, you have to believe that regardless of what anybody says. So what was to make you realize after 15 years, something that you loved those children, that you would just walk out of the classroom?
And understand what I love the children and I love empowering them. And when it came to a point where I recognized that I was not addressing their needs, you know, not the school district needs, their needs, then I just could not be at rest with that. I mean, it's like I remember like when I first retired from the Navy, went to get a job. I worked as the DJJ in the clinic. It was like a what do you call that, minimum wage job. And I remember trying to tell myself, okay, this is going to be my lot in life. I'll earn minimum wage. And my spirit was like, oh, no, you can't. I was just so disturbed. I could not do that. So then I left and it ended up leading me into the classroom. And so it's that same thing now. Okay, we've gone through some very challenging times. Everything is challenging. But, you know, at least stick it out till the end of the school year. And I'm thinking, I don't know how much time I have left. And I'm not doing them any good. I cannot, I was of no use to the kids. Not really. You know, I mean, I would talk to them, have my little conversations with them. They like that, but they still would not do the work because the work does not address their needs. You follow what I'm saying? Education is a tool to help you realize your dreams, not just so you can score a certain number on a test, you know.
And what about your dreams? About your dreams. And that's the whole other woman. We will put someone else's dreams and needs before our own. Especially as women, we're natural nurturers. That's what we do.
For the first go ahead. When I realized, I was just gonna say easily for the first
your worth.
Yes. Realize your worth. Realize the value of your vision. I'm telling you, let me think. How did it even get started? again, I was always wanting, for example, little things like when we did Black History Month. I didn't want to just do, Harriet Tubman, all these old people. I wanted them to see how children helped shape the civil rights movement. Emmett Till, the Children's March, showing children being empowered. And
Right.
this sounds so silly. In the cafeteria, they used to sell this tea, Milo's tea, and it had a little band. You pull this little tab to uncap it, but it was on so tight the kids couldn't do it. They would come up to the stage, and the teacher had a pocket knife, and he would do it. When we get back to the classroom, I said, you know what? There's an email address. Why don't you guys send a letter, an email to the company and explain what the problem is? They did it. They changed their tab, and they sent us a couple hundred bottles of iced tea. But these are kids. To us, tea was tea. But when you're a kid in middle school, that's a big deal. That is your world, tea. But they use their voice to get some change. Little things like that. That's important to me. It's important to me. And I'm helping them see the vision and knowing that you can achieve it, that you deserve a vision. A lot of them, you ask them what do you want to do, they don't even know. So then you help them to explore that. But education, how has your education helped you? Right? Think about it.
Right.
It helps you to move. And that's what it's about. And it's, no. So I tell you when I told them I was going to leave, one of the things they asked me, they said, well, this one kid goes, well, Miss Wright, will you write me a card and I'll keep it forever and I'll put it on my wall, So I thought that was so funny that they're like, as I'm leaving, what they want for me to share some more words with them before I go. So that's what I'm going to do.
And you have more words to share. I've always told you that your words inspire, encourage, enlighten, awaken. So that season of your life, it's time to move into another season. So you've done it for the spring, the summer. Now it's autumn. It's time for those leaves to fall in order for that tree to survive.
And that can be scary because I remember thinking that being an educator, being a teacher is so much of my identity. Then I have to realize that's what I do. That's not who I am. And I am, gosh, I am wherever I say I am, And it's easy. People, like you said, people stay in bad relationships or unfortunate places because they're afraid. And then I'm just like, feel the fear and do it anyway. So I'm gonna go for it.
What do you think we're afraid of? It's easy to say we're afraid of change, but what are we really afraid of? For over 15 years. The boys had graduated from high school. So I was just there. It's like, okay, that was another nudge that I had to leave. The only fear I had was where I was going. Where was I? I could have picked any of the states to move to. So my fear was choosing the right state. Where are you moving? Alabama was not on my list, even though that's where my family is and where I'm from. The fear was making sure that I was aligned with where God wanted me to be. I ended up in Alabama with my family. But that fear, that's where he wanted me here. I mean, since I've been here, I've seen every reason why I needed to be here. And it's most of the decisions that we have to make are not about us. We think everything is about us. Even with the other woman, finding the other woman, you will find that once you realize who you are, your worth, you realize that you have more to pour and more to give others. Your horizon becomes wider.
Mm-hmm.
You become can I say, a bigger person. You become a more enlightened, awakened person, where you realize there's a bigger picture than that little box that you were in. There are bigger shoes for you to fill. We don't really know our full potential because we're stuck in that one role.
Mm-hmm. In all of our experiences, we're evolving. And as you were talking about, your experience as a mother and a wife, you had to go through that process in order to be where you are now, because you wouldn't have this. You follow me? The other woman came
Mm-hmm.
about because you knew that there was something more than you were expressing. And I heard I don't know who
Mm-hmm.
said it, but I heard one say that it's not that we're so much afraid of failure. We might actually be afraid of success. And I was thinking back, there's some things that I wanted to do. And when I have like this really strong, intense desire to do a thing, it's amazing how, it's just like people, these sorts of things just show up. And it's like, am I really
Mm-hmm.
that powerful, creative? Can I do that? That can be
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
scary. It's almost as if, like we're told that we're supposed to get an education and you're going to go and you're going to help someone else achieve their vision. That's what you do. But then what about my vision? Oh, you can't have a vision. You're supposed to just get in line and I'll tell you where to go. And then something in you says, no, I have a vision too. And then that is scary. That can be very scary. So that's where I
And
am.
another thing, realizing your worth as a woman,
Mm-hmm.
womanhood in itself, when you really think about what it encompasses to be a woman, to bring life into the world, to bring doctors, lawyers, educators,
Mm-hmm.
painters, writers, um, whatever, computer science. I don't care if you're a homemaker, uh, encouragers, whatever, to realize your worth as a woman, aside of your individuality, just a woman being can be fearful. And I believe and it's not, I'm always asked, are you a feminist? Forget,
Mm-hmm.
I'm a woman. I'm a woman. And to know your value as the goddesses that we are. God forbid you say that we're goddess. You can be a queen, a princess all day. I prefer goddess.
I
That's a
like that.
scary word in itself because of the
Mm-hmm.
word God in it. But
Mm-hmm.
we create. We
Well,
create.
yes.
There is not a person on this earth who born of a woman, the womb.
Mm-hmm.
It's a precious to think about the magnitude of that. So here I am in my late 50s, realizing and acknowledging my worth as a woman. And I could have missed all of this because I was afraid if I had not changed courses in my life. I could have stayed in a job and in a marriage stuck and just going through the motions, thinking, okay, this is my life, this is where I'm supposed to be. But that fear, who is it that said everything that you want is on the other side of fear?
I don't know, but I like it.
Uh, yes, everything you want is on the other side of fear. And again, this is our journey. So, do you remember when you have shared some personal things with me, and I've always admired your courage. Um, I wish you could read my mind because there's one particular thing that I dare not bring up here on the live. But
Thank you. I know what you mean.
you have always had a level of courage. What would you tell a younger woman who wanted to leave a job or who wasn't happy in a friendship or in a marriage or in a relationship or about to walk down the aisle, like you said, you knew your marriage was going to end in divorce
Mm-hmm.
walking down the aisle. Or maybe she's afraid to change city or relocate because of a better job. What would you tell that in order
You,
for her to move forward?
that is something that I think we need to give our children an opportunity to learn and experience as kids and evolve. Because, a lot of us, children, should be seen and not heard, shut up, do what I tell you, whatever. And then all of a sudden you're supposed to be
Mm-hmm.
grown and then making decisions. We don't get the experience of making decisions. When did you ever hear my voice? I didn't know I had a voice, you know?
Yeah.
And so I was, allowing them to do that. But what I would say to a young woman today is, you know, trust your intuition. If
Say that
your
word again.
intuition, yeah, intuition, and it's not selfish is not a bad thing. I think we all do things for selfish reasons, you know.
And we
If,
should. Some
you
of
know,
them.
and I don't even know. Like I was just telling you, like my experience with my own granddaughter Jasmine, and one of the things I was about giving a women voice, giving children voices, and what I say I did with her when she was getting in trouble at school for having so much voice, I was telling her to shut up, just be quiet.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's
Mm-hmm.
wrong. Maybe you learn how to use better words, choose your words, be more mindful of your word choices. But you
Mm-hmm.
speak from yourself, and she is so amazingly powerful. And I think young women
Mm-hmm.
today, they are different. I think they're not going through this. Well, I got to be married and have kids. I think they do kind of know that they have a voice that deserves to be heard.
Right.
And
Right.
then, so the challenge is when you do things that's even things that fly in the face of society. They don't. These they love whoever they love. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's that's empowering. You
Do
know,
you think age has a lot to do with age, life experiences, has to do with the courage to make bold moves? Like, here we are, full of gray hair. Yeah, we can say,
mm-hmm,
I walked away from this and I left this and I
mm-hmm,
changed jobs. And, we have some life experiences behind us. But for, say, a young 20-year-old single mother who might want to say, you know what, I want to go left instead of right. But she
I
doesn't
think we
have
get.
anything to base that choice on.
I think the thing that tends to keep us stuck are our obligations. Now, I'm
Mm,
doing this courageous thing, but my house is paid for. I have retirement pay. You see,
yeah,
I don't have a mortgage, a car note, and little kids depending upon me.
right,
Because I know
right.
when I was in the Navy, at one point I wanted to get out, but I had a mortgage, I had a kid. So
Mm-hmm,
I stayed there because,
mm-hmm,
I invited this little person into my world and I had to provide for her. But then,
mm-hmm,
so when things, but all that experience in the military, all the things I went through, that did serve me well. I brought that into the classroom with me and bring it to myself. We evolve. We're always growing and evolving. When you're born, you crawl, right? And then you start to walk, and then you can run, and that's
right,
how it is. That's how that is.
right.
And
And some young women already have that in them. They
they
already
do.
know, like you're saying, they already know. I interviewed is Brooke,
Hmm.
energy, courageous. She knows her voice. She was in her early 20s. She was raised in Pensacola, Florida, and decided to just uproot. And she and her husband just go without a clear destination in mind. And I can't forget how how large the little camper or whatever she had, whatever they had, but it seemed like such a crazy idea, but she was following her heart. She knew it was time to go. So she's in Colorado now, and I just have to have her back on for her to share what in your 20 something young mind made you want to uproot without a job, had some savings, but that's finding the other woman, having the courage to just, because if not now, when you have, and her mother's watching, you have one life, one opportunity to live. And I get full when I think that I could have missed all that I have now if I had stayed in Pensacola, if I had stayed in my marriage, if I had stayed at the job that I had, the first job, homemaker, homeschooling. So I left Pensacola. I didn't have a place to live, but for me, I stayed with them until I found a place of my own. So there I was in my parents' house, in the house that I grew up in a twin-size bed, sleeping in the same room that I grew up in my 50s, starting over. You know, my credit was messed up. I had no savings. I was starting over. So back to that fear. So I remember laying in the bed one night with my feet hanging over. And I'm thinking, what the hell are you doing? What are you doing with your life? Starting over at 50. And now, if I had a crystal ball and I knew that I would have my own house, I'd be a homeowner, I live on a few acres, I have Candy Publishing and Woman Magazine. If I had a crystal ball to see all that, it wouldn't have been any fear. But I left not knowing what I was going to do or where I was going. And staying with my parents, I'm thinking, okay, you're going backwards. You're supposed to be going forwards. But I shared this morning, it seems like things are falling apart, but they're falling in place. So every step I took led me to where I am today. So walking away doesn't mean nothing. You're walking towards something. It's just the unknown that's fearful, the unknown. But I wouldn't trade what I went through for anything in the world. Yes, like you said earlier, everything, every experience, everything that happens to us leads us to where we are. So nobody likes a rainstorm, but we love that rainbow. But I always say pain empowers, and you can't listen to other people's opinions. I have an article in this special edition. I had to question whether I wanted to write this or not. And my father, when I first started The Other Woman, he says, "You've always written safe. Why are you writing safe? And when are you going to just, be who you are?"
Wow.
I know. So it's like, if Daddy said it, I can do it. So the title is F Other People's Opinions. I didn't write out the F word, but your favorite word, the F word. F other people's opinions. And I just mentioned all the instances, a few of the instances where if I listened to other people, I wouldn't be here. So when I wanted to leave the military, oh, don't get out, stay in, you can make a higher rank. F you. I got plans, something I want to do. Oh, don't leave your marriage to work. God, that's not God's will for you. F you. I'm doing what I want to do. Everybody's got something to say, always in your ear. Well, you should do this and you should do that. Someone told me, a church member of mine, last church I went to, she said, "Don't let people shit on you."
Right.
On you. You should do this and you should do that. I was told not to do this, not to do the cover. This is the best thing that I ever did. So having the courage to do you and not worry about naysayers or what other people want when their life is messed up from the floor up anyway, but they're going to try to tell you how to live your life. That's the
Right.
freedom that I want. I
Well,
feel like,
mhm.
go ahead.
No, I'm just going to say people often speak from a position of fear. They don't have the courage to do what you're going to do. They're afraid of the worst. They see the worst possible scenario, and they're projecting that onto you. But you look at anybody
Yeah.
throughout history who's ever achieved anything, there are always naysayers. You can't do that. That's impossible. But you don't listen to them. And I think when you're talking too,
Right.
I don't understand how you could have a sense of purpose and have the courage to do something if you don't recognize that there is a power beyond you. I assure you,
Mm-hmm.
our minds are creative. That's how why prayer works. That's how I always tell my students: be careful what you attach your I am to. Your words are powerful and
Mm-hmm.
creative. I assure you, there's been nothing that I really wanted to do that I have not achieved. And that's because you, you know that's how the universe works. And when you know your power,
Mm-hmm.
you could never be afraid again. And your discomfort, you know how that is.
Yeah. I always say trust.
Yeah.
I mean, trust the process of the universe. It's going to happen. Like this
Yes.
time of the year. I, I mentioned it earlier when the leaves fall. We love watching those leaves fall, but there's a process for that. The timing is just right. Those leaves have to fall in order for that tree to survive. They just don't fall because it's autumn. They have to fall from the tree in order
Mhm.
for that tree to live. So
Yes.
nature has always amazed me, just baffled by how it works, and to know I'm a part of it. I'm not separate from it looking at it. I'm a part of this
Hmm.
whole big universe. A powerful part, a part that brings life, more life into the universe. So that fear, um, just like in the mission of the other woman, to courageously live without regrets. Because going back to our one life, boy, when you have children and you see how quickly they grow, then you realize how quickly life goes by. I
Hmm.
remember telling my boys, don't bring no babies home. I'm free now. I have found the other woman.
Hmm.
I'm doing me. So found me a little cottage house in the country in the woods. Nobody can find me. And what happens? The oldest one has a baby. Changed my whole world. So where I'm saying don't bring no baby, I'm not trying to be nobody's grandmama. I don't have time to babysit. Where's Jakari? I miss Jakari. So Jakari. He has changed my life. But like you say, we evolve. We
We
evolve.
do.
And see, I
We
didn't
do.
want that. I was resisting the universe. I was resisting. So D, you share how you're a writer. You've
Mm.
always been a writer. Now that you have walked away from public setting, you have made a decision to walk away after.
Uh, okay, I didn't hear that last part, but the deal is, how can I say this? I walked away from the job, but not from the work. I will always be an educator. I want to volunteer in classrooms. One of my former students, I call her my goddaughter, she's um, going to school to become a teacher. And the deal was, I was going to go into her classroom and be her classroom grandma. But since I left early, now I can help her write her lesson plans for her practicums and help her with her papers. And she goes, and we can go to workshops together. So that is exciting to me. So that part will always be there. I want to work with mothers too, parents, because they're the first teachers, but a lot of them don't know what they could be doing. And for me to help them with that. And what was the question again? I got lost.
What are you going to do? You walked out of the classroom. You were
Oh,
always an
yes,
educator, so
yes,
what are you
yes,
going
yes.
to do now?
So what I want to do now is I want to see, I've shared with you and I shared with other people, I said, these words do not come from me, they come through me. Because I get such a strong reaction.
Say
Those
that
are not my
again.
words.
Say that again.
I said the words come through me, but not from me, you know? And that's why they land where
Yes.
they're supposed to land. They do what they're supposed to do. And we're all, if we allow ourselves, if we would get out the way, put our egos out the way, we can just, I mean, again, once you recognize how truly powerful you are because of what is operating through you, you would never be afraid again. You might say, okay, let's see how you're going to work this out. That's going to be interesting. I remember a couple of years ago, we had this one little sixth grader. She had a heart transplant and she got an infection and she passed away. Her favorite color was purple. So I knew that at her funeral that I was going to speak. I was going to say something. And I remember I looked up what was the meaning of the color purple. And all these attributes of the color purple she possessed: loyalty, courage, all this stuff. And I had been invited to go do this book review thing on TV on WSRE. And there were these purple flowers there. And so the host, she goes, I was going to put these on the table, but they won't fit. I go, those are not your flowers. She's like, what are you talking about? I bought these. I said, no. And I explained to her, I wanted to bring purple flowers to this mama, and there's the purple flowers. So she gave them to me. And then at the funeral, I said, well, I'm going to give a purple backpack every year. So, because I know there's going to be some little girl who's going through a few things and she's going to recognize, she's going to call upon the courage from the purple. Well, her grandfather liked it. We had over 80, almost 100 purple backpacks donated to the kids at school. It was an idea and it grew. Here's one little thing I do. There's a couple of things I like to do. One is called my top 10 list. Think about 10 things or experiences you want to experience in your life. Write them down, 10 things. And you will be amazed at how just from writing those 10 things down, how you start to attract them because you speak your words, you write your words. Now, you don't share that with anybody, maybe after you get it, but your top 10 list. I have my students do it. I do it. It works. Words are powerful. Words are creative. You'll never hear me say, oh, he made me so mad. No, I'll be careful. I might choose to respond with anger, but you didn't make me anything. And just like whatever discontent I felt on my job, it wasn't that they made me feel discontent. It was just my spirit was saying, you know what? This is not you. Be true to yourself. This is not what we do. You're not empowering anybody in this.
That's Shakespeare. I love that. To thine own self, be true.
Absolutely. And, we have this misguided sense that in order to be a good, loving, responsible woman, I'm going to put everybody's needs ahead of myself because, hey, that's what women do. No, we don't need martyrs. We don't.
And what are we teaching our children? What are we teaching our children by living as a martyr, by sacrificing your all till you're just beat down and tired where you have nothing to pour into yourself? Is that the example that we want to show of what a mother is, of what a woman is?
No, because you're making it sound like you have no value. Your opinion means nothing. Your vision means nothing. Everything is second to what someone else, and that's not true. It's it's liberating. You know, what somebody said, what you think of me is none of my business. And a lot of what we do is because we are concerned with what people think. Oh, how do I look? What am I driving? Where am I living? Who am I dating? You know, anything outside of yourself. And I don't even know. I like what you're doing here because you're people are tuning in because when you speak, something starts to quicken inside of them. You know, they might want to do a little something, something.
Mhm.
You know, and you're like, well, go ahead, try it. You know, you don't have, like you said, you don't have to
Try.
quit your job tomorrow.
What have you got to lose? What do you have to lose?
Oh my God, was it most men live that life of quiet desperation? That's awful.
Mm.
People are
Say it
miserable.
again.
You that I can't. Who was quote was that about how most men live a lives of quiet desperation? That lives of quiet
Mm.
desperation. That's the thing. You
Mm.
know, on Sundays you start to get all upset because you got to go to work on Monday. You get to work on Monday, you're looking for a hump day on Wednesday. Then the weekend comes.
I
Okay,
know.
what
Looking for
is
the
that?
weekend. Thank God it's
What is
Friday. But you know
what is?
what? So I was thinking today while driving, there are so many women
Mhm.
happy living unhappy, happily living unhappy lives. And they've just accepted that that's going to be their norm. They've accepted that, okay, well, this is it. This is my life. But once you again realize your worth, you are, um, the script changes. Something happens. I truly feel like second life. I got a second opportunity to live. And I didn't start living until I changed some things, walked away from some things, shut some doors. I want to be happy. So just ask yourself, for those of you who are watching, are you happy or are you tolerating life? If you're tolerating life, then maybe it's time for some inspection, some reflection on your life. Like you said, do you write those 10 things down? I don't know if I could come up with 10 things.
You'd be
I don't know if I could
surprised.
come up with 5
They
things.
don't even have to be really big things, but I mean, it's just try it. And then there's a price to be
Just try
paid
it.
for living unhappy lives. Straight blood pressure. Like my blood pressure was crazy high the other morning, 197 over 101. Okay, that's like
Mm,
stroke range,
mm,
and that's like the universe said, listen,
mm-hmm.
either you walk out or you will be carried out. I choose to walk out.
Oh my
And
gosh.
and that's just, I mean, I can't blame that. That's just from not being true to myself, not taking care of myself, and thinking somehow going to this
Oh
classroom,
gosh.
sitting there, is somehow serving them.
Thinking you're doing
What?
the right thing, thinking you're doing, and
Yeah.
you know what? But I got to share this since you mentioned that. I had an annual physical after I separated. Um, my iron was low, my blood pressure was high, um, my thyroid was off. I was just messed up. My immune system was low, but I was giving my all. I was giving my all, being a loving wife and mother, but my
Hmm.
body was shutting down.
Yeah.
Again, you can do things for other people, women, but you've got to remember to pour into yourself. What is that? It's another cliche adage. You can't pour from an empty cup. You can't pour from, you know what I'm saying? You fill
Hmm.
yourself up. You got to be selfish enough to love yourself like you love your family. Take care
Absolutely.
of yourself. Saying that,
Absolutely.
the other woman, for those of you who are in the Montgomery area, um, we have some special surprises coming up for you all. And I'm thinking about doing it in other cities and states where the Other Woman magazine is. But we have some talking about unplugging and taking care of you. Some wonderful things coming up. I can't tell you what it is, but it is a surprise. It's all about loving yourself, showing yourself love, self-worth, all of this. And I just want to say, if you have a story, we all have a story. We've all gone through some pain, some
Yep,
challenges,
yep,
some
yep, yep.
hardships, but life is good. All of that encompasses your life. Feel free to share that with other women. And now with this platform, we're bringing back the layers. Is it difficult? Yes. I didn't think I was going to get sharing my story, but when you go public and take the mask off, when you go public and be transparent, it is a little different than just writing, but you empower other women when you share your pain, because we all go through something. Wives, mothers, single moms, you're not alone. Somebody else has walked your journey. Uh, Being in relationships where you don't feel like you're valued. We've all been there. If you're a woman, you have felt neglected or abused in a relationship. If you have never felt that, you are special, because we're all human and we date and marry other humans who are messed up from the floor up with their own baggage. You're not alone, but it's so important to love yourself. Learn to love yours and just love happen. Let love happen. So you got the closing words, Steve.
I was just thinking that for a lot of us women, we think that we need a man or to complete us, or someone's approval to complete us. And once you recognize that everything you ever need to create the world that you deserve, you already have that within you. The only thing you have to do is just reach in there and get it and use it and move. And that's the biggest thing I can say. And if anyone out there listening does that top 10 list thing, maybe the next time you get together, if they will just type in one of those things on their list that they came to pass. Watch your words, the words that you listen to, the words that you read. Someone comes around want to complain all the time. You got to kind of cut them loose a little bit, because they'll pull you down like crabs in a pot, pull you back down.
Look at the comment on the screen. She says, I doubt if anyone is ever happy, though, maybe tolerant. So, Belinda's a good one to do that list of 10 things. You can be happy, Belinda. You can be happy, not just tolerant of life.
I
You want to
don't
say
know,
something?
Belinda. I just want to say, but Belinda, for her to type that, Belinda's going through some things right now. And sometimes when you're going through the process, when you are evolving, it is painful and it's uncomfortable. No one would call that happy, but that's part of your transformation. And what you have to do is trust that on the other side of that is your good. I doubt if anyone is ever happy. And then another thing, I like the difference between happy and joy, because happy can be conditional. Like if things go the way I want it, then I'm happy. If they don't go the way I want, I'm not happy. But joy, it comes from inside, and that's independent of what's going on out there. But you have to recognize, know your power, Belinda. You are fierce.
Belinda, we're going to have you on. Belinda, yeah. Okay. Okay. And she says, okay, I haven't gotten there yet. And you just keep on
moving.
Yeah, keep on moving. Keep on moving forward. Keep on tuning in to the Other Woman magazine, because it's all about what you're saying, Belinda. You can be happy. I'm going to read the mission again. It is my mission to help you, Belinda, an often suppressed woman, resting within and infuse a desire to live courageously without reservation or regrets. So we got to go. It is almost 10 after.
Oh,
Thank you all
okay.
for joining. If you haven't received a copy of the Other Woman magazine, you can go to candypublishing.net, and getting rid or cutting out toxic people online can help bring
Yes,
happiness. Thank you, Sandy,
yes.
reporter of the Other Woman magazine. And she has an article coming up in our December, January issue. And if you all are interested in writing, the deadline is October 15th. Go to candypublishing.net and click on a link that says submit an article. And there are guidelines to go by. But thank you for joining us. And I don't know who's going to be for peeling back the layers, but it might be one of you all that are tuning in. But we're going to continue peeling back the
Yes.
layer out
Good,
who we
good.
really are. Who is she? Who is the woman? So thank you all for joining us, and thank you, Dee, again for sharing. And your 15 years as an educator will continue. However, you won't be in the
Yes.
classroom,
Won't be in the
but you will
classroom.
be in life. You won't be in the
Absolutely.
classroom.
Yeah.
So congratulations on your,
Thank
I don't want to say walking away, but your decision to take care of
you.
you, to take care of your health, and
Yes.
just for you do
Yes.
something for yourself. Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Okay, you guys,
Thank
thank you. And you all have a great evening. And we will see you next time on Peeling Back the Layers.